Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Long Shot Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Duncan Robinson. And once again, as always, I'm here with my friend, Davis Reed.
What's going on? How we feeling?
We're feeling good. We got a little change of pace this week. Just when you thought you might have had us figured out, we're throwing a curveball. We got
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah, we got 2 guests this week, 2 super interesting personalities and conversations, and 2 guys that we can certainly learn a lot from. Pioneers, if you will, in the sports media world. In Kenny, King of the Fourth Quarter, Kenny Beecham, and of course, Mark Titus as well. So 2 great conversations. Certainly enjoyed having them. I don't know about you, Davis.
Yeah, of course. We with Kenny, we talk a little bit about his come up, his new endeavors, some things he's getting into. We talked some 2K, which was fun. And then with Mark, we sort of go in all sorts of directions. That was one that we sat down with him at the beginning, and I think we even admitted, like, hey, we have no idea where this is going to go. But it was a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, with Mark always brings a personality, but I think the surprising turn that conversation took was it got pretty introspective.
Yeah,
and somewhat therapeutic, cathartic, if you will, in that we really kind of just dived into some of the deeper stuff with context, of course. But I think you guys will definitely enjoy that.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I think, like you said, we'll keep this a little shorter up front so we can get to those conversations. So let's just we'll jump into our segments. You want to hit the Reddit question of the week first?
Well, why don't you handle this one? This is kind of your bread and butter. So why don't you go ahead and take that?
I do. I take pride in this one. So this week we've got a question from user Smash ACC, Smash Ack. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that one, but he asks an interesting question. Who's the most jacked player to be a good free throw shooter? And why I think this is an interesting conversation is this is something I dealt with at a much lesser level than you do. So I'm interested to get your take on this. I considered myself a shooter when I was playing. And so when I started lifting weights in high school, seriously, I was so worried about it because, I felt like my shot was pretty good. So the idea of lifting weights and getting stronger and getting bulkier, I thought might mess with my shot. You know how shooters can be very superstitious with that sort of thing. So I wanted to get your take on how you deal with that balance. So first, can you think of a jacked player who's a good free throw shooter? But really this question for me turns into how do you deal with the balance of weightlifting and shooting?
Well, I'm gonna keep it right in house. I'm gonna go Bam Adebayo. That this year his free throw percentage is way up. I think it's at least mid 80s, maybe even high 80s at this point. So I'm going to go Bam, and as everybody can see, he is, to put it mildly, a physical specimen and is an absolute beast in the weight room. So I'll take Bam for that one. I don't know if you have anybody in mind. Do you?
Well, I don't want to just keep this as a Heat podcast, but I was actually also going to keep it in house. I was thinking Myers. Because Myers, Thor, that guy's massive, but just a great shooter, not just at the free throw line, but really, all over the court. But yeah, so I'll keep it in house as well.
Yeah, I think both those guys have a unique ability to combine strength and touch, which is a not so common combination. But in terms of your other question, as it regards weightlifting and shooting, I also used to be the same way in high school. If you've ever seen a picture of me in high school, it certainly was not a surprise that I didn't touch any weights because I didn't. And maybe I used it as an excuse and that I didn't want it to mess with my jump shot. But I later on down the line realized how ridiculous that was, in that I think lifting and getting stronger has, without question, made me a significantly better shooter. I think that it's important to get connected with a strength coach who understands the importance of functionality and that they're not having you lifting like a bodybuilder. But in order to be a great shooter, you absolutely have to have strength, upper body, lower body, just general strength. And, I think there's a bunch of guys that have missed time due to injuries and worked on their body and gotten stronger and just gotten more solid and come back as a result better shooters. So the weightlifting ruining your shooting is I'm here to say a myth and something that young kids do not need to worry about.
Well, that's good to hear. Was there a learning curve with that for you? Because I remember at Michigan, was it maybe your junior year? There was a year at Michigan where you got big, like bigger than you'd been.
Yeah, that
ever.
was a little different though. That was going into my junior year. They wanted me to guard 4 men in the Big Ten, so they wanted me to get up to like 220 pounds, which I think was a little bit rushed. My body composition wasn't great, and it was more so. It more so became just about getting the number on the scale up instead of actually getting functionally stronger and being able to move well at that size. And as a result, early on in the year, I had the weight, but I wasn't comfortable moving at that weight yet. And as a result, I just didn't play well. It wasn't just shooting. It was just hard for me to move around the floor. And I wasn't able to move the way that I had grown accustomed to, and really wasn't able to play the way that I had grown accustomed to playing. So, yeah, once again, it's definitely not all about, and that's something that I've learned in Miami. It's not all about just being the heaviest possible, but instead just being in really, really good shape from a body composition standpoint.
Got it. Yep, that makes sense. All right, let's jump into the long shot feature. I'll let you take this one.
This one is, to put it at one word, impressive. It makes some of the other long shot stories that, not necessarily the write-ins, but maybe the people that we've had on this podcast, it certainly keeps them in perspective of what is truly a long shot.
Right, not our features, to be clear, our guests.
Not our features.
All of
correct,
our features
yes.
have been good, but yeah, this one
incredible.
This one's
Yeah.
this one's good.
So we got my guy Siswell Santos, born and raised in Brazil. Got admitted into a local college at the age of 16, but he couldn't afford the materials or even textbooks to attend. So in order to pay these things, he starts working at a local grocery store. He's earning roughly about, $4 American dollars a week. And sometimes he wouldn't even get paid at the grocery store because he opted to just take food home. And that was just kind of discounted from his paycheck. So this guy is, really just grinding to make ends meet, keep food on the table for himself and a roof over his head. Doesn't make enough to cover school. So after classes, he starts collecting empty beer cans to sell to recycling companies, make a little extra cash. And there's this moment where he's about to quit, and one of the owners at a bar he was collecting cans at said that he would help out Siswell. Sorry. And each night, my guy Siswell would come to the bar owner and pick up the cans and trade them in for money. And because of this guy, Siswell says that he was able to graduate, and to this day, thanks that man for these cans. Now, fast forward. He went on to become a professor of computer science in Brazil. And now he has a project where he is working to generate solar energy to bring electricity and internet access at a reduced price to families in need. Talk about paying it forward. Because of the project, he was admitted to Harvard, a little school in Cambridge. I don't know if you've heard about it, Davis.
I have. I've heard of it. Pretty good school.
To take graduate courses, and this allowed him to really take the project to the next level. And last year, he was invited to start implementing his equipment in villages in East Africa. So a young man from Brazil, the ultimate come up, comes from nothing, finds his way to Harvard, and now is all across the globe, changing the world, bringing reduced price solar energy to the people who need it most. That, my friends, is a long shot.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to shout out, his story was brought to us by Karina. She emailed us. She reached out to us to share this story. And I want to quickly shout her out too, because she said in her email, I wanted to share these stories with you guys because they're from simple people who have found a way to have a different life through work and education, which I just think is awesome. And so, the first few weeks we've done these, we've sort of leaned into sports, but we were excited this week to go in a different direction. And what better way to do that than with this story?
No, absolutely. You said it. And I also want to take this time to just remind everybody, keep sending us the long shots, the local long shots. It's turned into one of my favorite aspects, just reading them all and hearing all these incredible stories. It certainly puts, any adversity that I would face on my day to day in perspective.
Right.
Because, what other people have overcome is just incredibly impressive and inspiring. So, reach out to us on social media. You can email us. It's thelongshotpod@gmail.com. But yeah, just keep them coming. We love them.
Yep, agreed. All right, let's get to our 2 discussions this week with Kenny and Mark. Dunk, if you had to use a word to describe the convos, what would it be?
Yeah, I'm just going to do a little blanket word here for both of them. I think they were delightful. Just had fun with both of them. Got to know Kenny a little bit better. Just seems like a super enjoyable dude and had fun picking his brain on some different things. And, Mark and I go back a little bit. So it was delightful to catch up with him. So, I got the one word for both of them. Delightful.
I like it. And I agree.